Hey everybody, what's going on, and welcome to Guns N' Roses Central. And today we're doing another episode of Guns N' Roses True Story. So we are talking about the first incarnation of Slash's Snakepit and the events that led Slash to actually go out and start another band and start Slash's Snakepit. So let's start in early 1994. Slash and Axl were being interviewed on Rockline to promote the spaghetti incident, and a fan calls in and asks both Axl and Slash if they have any plans on doing a solo album or starting another band or playing on another album. And even though Slash never really referred to Slash's Snakepit as a solo album, he did say that he has no plans to record another record outside of Guns N' Roses at that time. Here's what he said.
What's happening? What's your question, Nick?
Yeah, I was wondering, since Duff did his solo album and Slash, you worked on that Jimmy tribute album, is anyone else going to do any solos or work on any other albums?
I tell you the truth, Duff's solo album, Gilby's doing one. It's pretty much finished. That's basically it. I don't have any plans to do one. I don't think I have.
I'm trying to put a project together that is kind of a top secret weapon right now.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Cool. We'll look for that. Gilby Clarke, of course, the second guitarist for Guns N' Roses. Thank you, Nick, for the...
Now, in early 1994, Slash met with Axl on the demo songs that would eventually surface as Snakepit songs. So Slash talked about it in his autobiography. He said, "I started hanging out with Matt," referring to Matt Sorum, "and recording demos of the stuff just for fun, and Mike Inez from Alice in Chains and Gilby started to come around and play with us. The three of us just got into a groove of jamming and recording every night. We didn't even know what it was going to be. At some point I played it for Axl, who took a pronounced disinterest in it." Matt Sorum even shed some light on this, saying the Snakepit album could have been the new GNR album, but Axl didn't think it was good enough. And even Gilby talked about that time they were jamming in 1994. He said, "Well, it's an Axl thing. He just wasn't into what we were doing, so he's kind of rethinking what he wants to do. He just kind of threw a wrench into everything that me, Slash, and Matt had worked to. And then Duff came in. Duff and Axl have an idea of what the album should be, and the rest of us have another idea." So according to Duff's autobiography, he said one of the points of contention between Slash and Axl around 1994 was the batch of songs Slash brought to the table. Axl thought it was Southern rock, not Guns N' Roses material. I backed Axl. And even Slash talked about specific songs that Axl hated. He said the instrumental Jizz da Pit was a riff that I've been carrying around that Axl hated. He called it redneck. He hated it, so we never did anything with it. And Axl even confirmed his feelings on the first Snakepit record, or the first batch of songs that Slash brought in that would eventually become Snakepit songs. He said, "What people don't know is that the Slash's Snakepit album, that is Guns N' Roses' album. I just wouldn't do it." However, in the same interview, Axl said, "I didn't believe in it. I thought there were riffs and parts and some ideas. I thought that needed to be developed. I had no problem working on it or working with it. But as is, I think I'm with the public on that one." Even Mark Cantor confirmed Axl's account of the events. He said Axl was into at least 3 of the Snakepit demos and maybe 4. Now, according to the same interview that Axl did with MTV, he said Duff walked out on it, referring to the Snakepit material, and I walked out on it because I wasn't allowed to be any part of it. It's like, no, you do this, that's how it is. Even Axl elaborated in 2008. He said, "I didn't walk until several months after having 3 to 4 hour phone conversations nearly every day with Slash, trying to reach a compromise. I was specifically told no lyrics, no melodies, no changes to anything, and to sing what I was told or fuck off." And according to Mark Cantor, he said, then Slash got big-headed and just took them all back. After being out on the road and playing in front of hundreds of thousands of people, it starts to go to your head. Just because Axl didn't want all of them didn't mean he didn't want to work with some of them. Now, Guns N' Roses would take some time off in 1994, and Slash would go into the studio in September of 1994, and basically he wanted to flesh out the demos that Axl refused to work on, and those demos would eventually turn into It's 5 O'Clock Somewhere, and then the album would be ready in the next month. So according to Slash, altogether, It's 5 O'Clock Somewhere took about 26 days to record. During that time, they also had time to mix the album and write all the lyrics. He also had Mike Klink, who had worked on Guns N' Roses' previous records, producing the album, and Matt Sorum and Mike Inez actually played on the record. He said, "I properly recorded the demos we'd done. We hired ourselves a singer, Eric Dover of Jellyfish, who fit well enough at the time. He and I wrote the lyrics to all 12 tracks." Slash also went on to say one of the first songs we did with Eric was a song called Beggars and Hangers On, where we wrote the whole song in one night. I was really impressed with that. It's about everybody we know, half the girls I've met in my career at this point, so we went into Rumbo in the Valley and wrote the lyrics and the melodies for 13 songs in one day. And due to Slash being pissed off at Axl at that time, he said, I think it's pretty easy to tell which songs he wrote and which ones I wrote. All of my songs were directed at one person, ... probably referring to Axl. Though no one picked up on it at the time, I used the record as an opportunity to vent a lot of shit that I needed to get off my chest. Slash also said I had 2 songs with lyrics that I had finished myself, Be the Ball and Take It Away. What Do You Want Me to Be is me and Eric. I Hate Everybody But You is the closest thing I've come to writing a love song. Now, Eric Dover was the 41st vocalist that they auditioned for Slash's Snakepit, and Matt Sorum wasn't 100% sold on Eric Dover being the frontman. In fact, it created a bit of tension between Slash and Matt Sorum when Slash went ahead and basically gave Eric the job. So Slash's Snakepit, the first album was called It's 5 O'Clock Somewhere, and the title came from a bartender who was waiting on Slash at some airport they were at or some bar they'd went to early in the morning. Slash asked for a drink, and the bartender said, It's 5 o'clock somewhere. Now, shortly after Slash finished recording and mixing the Snakepit album, Axl came back to Slash and said, hey, remember those songs that you recorded, that you showed me? I think I want to actually have some of those songs back and make them Guns N' Roses material. And it turned into a big fight between Axl and Slash, and here's Slash talking about that in an interview with MTV.
From Guns N' Roses, but guitarist Slash has just released his first solo album. It's 5 O'Clock Somewhere is what it's called. He calls his band Slash's Snakepit, but it has a few gunners in it, keyboardist Dizzy Reed and drummer Matt Sorum, as well as ex-gunner Gilby Clarke. And they're playing songs that could have turned up on a GNR album and that led to some of the much-rumored recent friction between Slash and Axl Rose, as Slash told us recently.
I played some of the stuff for Axl, and he didn't seem to take to it too well, so I kept it. I mean, it could have been Guns N' Roses material at the time if he'd been really into it, but that wasn't the musical direction that he wanted to go in. Axl, at some point, decided that he wanted certain songs back, and the album was already finished by that point, and that sort of was a shock to him that it was done so quickly. And then he was like, well, I want those songs back. And I was like, no, it's too late, they're gone. And so we've come to terms with that at this point, but there was a little bit of friction there for a while.
Meanwhile, sources close to Guns N' Roses confirm a report in the new issue of Metal Edge magazine that Slash has been jamming with former Ozzy Osbourne guitarist Zakk Wylde. Whether it was a whim or an audition for a Snakepit touring slot or as a replacement for Gilby Clarke and GNR is not yet clear, but we'll keep you posted.
Now, at one point, Axl threatened to sue Slash if those 3 or 4 demos would be released on Slash's Snakepit album. However, the cease and desist order had since been pulled, but Axl was not very happy and seemed to provide his side of the drama by commissioning third-party overdubs to Sympathy for the Devil recordings. So according to Slash, he played the Snakepit demos to Tom Zutaut of Geffen Records, who agreed to put it out. And Slash said, and that was all I cared to hear. Looking back, I realized that while they thought I was putting the future of Guns N' Roses in jeopardy by pursuing Snakepit, they decided it was most important to humor me. So according to Slash, Geffen publicized it. They gave them financial tour support. We booked ourselves a tour across the United States, Europe, Japan, and Australia. Everything was in place. We were ready to take Snakepit on tour had it not been for the fact that Matt Sorum and Mike Inez weren't able to go. So Matt Sorum was actually asked by Axl to not go tour with Slash's Snakepit, otherwise there could be some repercussions, meaning that Matt could be fired from the band, and Mike Inez was going back to Alice in Chains to work on the next Alice in Chains record. So while Slash was out touring with Snakepit, he would do numerous interviews where he'd be asked about the status of the next Guns N' Roses record or what's going on between him and Axl. And here's what he had to say in a lot of the interviews.
Which is how I ended up here, yeah.
So just a question that everybody wants to know the answer about is, when did you last talk to Axl Rose?
Probably about 6 months ago.
Is that so?
We go through these periods where I do my thing and he does his, and then eventually we come together, and that's when another Guns N' Roses record gets done.
Yeah.
When this tour ends, it's a 6-month tour, I'll go in August. I'll go home and basically we'll regroup, so to speak, and then then Guns will probably spend a little bit of time in the studio and then be on the road for a while. We'll be like family for a long time, and then when the tour when the tour ends, I'm probably just going to go back and make another Snakepit record and do another small club tour, and we'll just sort of play it that way.
Right.
But of course, nothing is ever that predictable. But that's the basic plan.
Yeah. And you didn't feel the need to call him and say, "How are you doing, man? And how's it going?"
At this point, I'm touring, so like I have a hard enough time calling my wife.
Oh, is that so?
Yeah.
Where is she then?
She's home in LA.
Yeah. But you do call her every now and then.
I call her when I get to a phone. We're on the bus most of the time. So.
Yeah. Okay. So how's it going with this with your new band?
It's awesome.
Yeah.
Well, you know, I mean, I have a certain passion for like the very spontaneous, go for what you know rock and roll approach, which is what this whole band is based on. I mean, we haven't been together that long or anything like that, but we all get on very well. And so we throw a set together, like we just threw one together for tonight, and we just go out there and try our best, you know. And it's something about that immediacy that is where I come from, that I sort of, you know, Guns is already established. You know, if we go out on stage with Guns N' Roses, they're going to expect to hear certain songs, this and that. Nobody knows any of the Snakepit stuff. You know, maybe Beggars and Hangers On, a couple of the songs, but basically we're just going out there on our own merit, you know, and that's all we have to go on. I sort of like the challenge, I guess. I don't know, maybe I'm crazy.
So during a concert that Slash Snakepit did in Chicago in April of 1995, the last song of the set, Slash welcomes Izzy Stradlin on stage, and they jammed to the Rolling Stones song Bitch. Here's a video of that footage.
I got one more really cool special thing I know you guys weren't even expecting when you do it on the radio or anything. Izzy, come out here. Izzy fucking drove up from Indiana to come hang out and shit. This is an old song. An old song called Bitch.
Now, according to Slash's autobiography, he said, "We were in the midst of booking another leg when I was informed by Geffen that they'd sold 1 million copies of It's 5 O'Clock Somewhere and had turned a profit, so they saw no reason for me to continue the tour. I was to return to LA because Axl was ready to begin working on the next Guns N' Roses record. In case I objected, Geffen made it clear that financial support for the Snakepit tour was over." So on July 26, 1995, Slash's Snakepit played the last show of their continuous world tour in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. 2 days later, on July 28th, Duff and Matt would play a benefit show at the LA Viper Room with Steve Jones of the Sex Pistols and John Taylor of Duran Duran. The group called itself Neurotic Outsiders. So that does it for my look at Slash's Snakepit, at least the first incarnation of the band. Let me know what your thoughts are on Slash's Snakepit record from 1995 in the comment section below. Were you guys a fan of it, or were you guys not a fan of it? Let me know in the comment section below. Be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed this video, and please share this video as well. You guys can also subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos just like this, or if you love Guns N' Roses. And make sure to follow me on Facebook and Twitter. The links to my social media channels are down below. And you guys can also go support my channel on Patreon. The link to my Patreon page is down below as well. Thanks for watching, everyone, and have yourself a good day.